The Johnversations Podcast. This is episode number 50. And as always, I am your host, John Connor, saying thank you for joining us this week. My guest, super excited. It's his birthday. Very gracious of him to hang out with us on his birthday. He is a singer and songwriter and the man behind FENCES. His album, Failure Sculptures, is now available in a deluxe reissue. Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, please welcome Mr. Christopher Mansfield. Chris, thanks so much for being here, man. I really appreciate you hanging out. We're going to give you some applause. We got some cool, fun sound effects. Happy birthday. How's the day been going?
It's good. Isn't canned laughter dead people?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's dead people or if it's just like well, I guess it would be because I think a lot of it is like cut from old like TV shows. So like they recorded. So I'm sure if it came out in like the 40s or 50s, they're probably dead now. So
it's kind of spooky, huh?
Well, a little bit. But hey, man, even they're excited to have you here. So
I know. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Hey, you're very welcome. It seems like it's your birthday. I follow you on Instagram. You've been doing Instagram lives all day. Seems like it's been a pretty busy day for you as far as like catching up with people and sharing things with the world. Has the day been going all right for you?
Oh, it's been cool. Yeah, I never really do that. I just was like, I don't know. I just felt like doing it. Well, it's like mostly, I go on there and then like people request to go on. And I'm just like, okay, this will be funny. And it's like, it's just someone from like, like all these different countries and stuff. It's sort of like, it's like television that you can talk to and they can talk back.
Yeah. I saw you were chatting with Local Nomad earlier today and they're righteous. Great. Yeah.
Great guitar player, man.
Yeah, he's a hell of a singer too, man. He's got some really creative music videos and we could talk about, speaking of creative music videos, I definitely want to get into that with you because I'm a big fan of not only what you do musically, but also what you do visually. I did kind of want to start by asking though, COVID is hopefully kind of wrapping up. It's been a crazy year. I know that you're someone that, whether you're out with the band or you're doing kind of like your own acoustic tours and things like that, like I grew up playing music, was in band. So I know that like when you're living that, like being on the road is a big part of kind of how you function as a human. And when that gets taken away, it can almost feel like a part of you is missing. How have you been dealing with that over the last year? Have you been, I read somewhere that you said, I'm someone that doesn't really go out much anyway, but like with the shows and things like that, have you adjusted okay to not having that aspect?
Yeah, well, I've noticed like, I think that there's this weird sort of like hidden or maybe like not talked about or embarrassing, like ego that like actors and musicians have that we sort of are like, no, we're all just people. But, like I remember seeing that, all those like, that black and white, like COVID commercial with all those actors and stuff. And in my mind, I was like, y'all don't really care. You just need to be seen. You need to be actors. Like you need people to look at you. And I was like, well, that's kind of, it was like kind of like pandering or something and odd, but I realized that it was kind of the same thing. It's like, if there's someone at my house, I just like pull out the guitar and I'm like, I want to play a song. It's because I'm like, fuck, I'm trying to play a show, but it's for like two people who kind of don't even want to hear it. So it's like, so yeah, I've definitely noticed that like not having, it's odd. I don't know if it must be the ego or something, because clearly anyone who gets in this line of work has some, maybe something missing in them or something. And they need like love from others, to feel something, I guess. So
admiration, something to kind of be like.
Absolutely. So I've definitely noticed that when I'm, when I'm home, I pull out the guitar and I'm like, you guys want to hear a song? Or I wrote a poem. And I'm like, why am I trying to, it's like show and tell or something. And I'm like, fuck. But it's just like a personality trait. So yeah, I've just through my own behavior, I've noticed that I do miss that clearly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had that conversation with my brother-in-law quite a bit where it's, cause again, I grew up like playing in bands and being on the road and things like that. And it's a certain type of person number one, to like want to get up there and have that attention and that focus on you. But then number two, you're also, and I don't think this really gets talked about a lot, but like you're also subjecting yourself to any criticism and potential ridicule. And you like, you're open because, you know, you go see, especially when you're starting off, like you go play somewhere and there's a group of people who are like, that was awesome. And you killed it. And then there's always that group of people who's like, man, this band sucks. And so you've got like both sides, and you have to be, I think there's a unique personality type that's like, hey, I need this admiration or this affection or this love, but I'm also willing to kind of endure the opposite side of that coin to get those things.
Yeah, that's well put. And that's a weird side of it that I think I almost feel like I identify with more is the, I don't know, not like I'm like a sadist or something, but possibly. But I remember we played at the Henry Fonda Theater in LA. It was like, I think it's 2,700 people. We were opening for Against Me. It's sold out, and like we were, you know, we don't sound like Against Me, like sonically. So the audience was like, you know, confused on what was happening, I guess, because they thought they were coming to hear a certain type of music. And then we were there, and I remember I just like went on a rant to the audience because they were like not booing us, but just like, you know, saying shit. And I was like, hey, you guys are here to see your favorite band Against Me. And I go, they brought us on tour, not you. And I just went on some like crazy rant, and I was like, I almost like liked that more than getting just like, you know, like a golf clap. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me, dude? Like, I want to be like on it, like, it, you know, almost 3,000 people, and I'm standing on stage just like, and it was, you know, you're under the gun. It's like it's a rush. It's weird. I think the people not liking it, it really gives you sort of, it's like, it's not the same feeling, but it's still like an elevated feeling of consciousness, because it's like, feels a lot different than sitting at home.
Right.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah. 110%. And I think that's something too, that I think you touched on a really good point. And I think something that gets lost is like, you know, when you go see a show, especially because I think you and I are, and we'll kind of get into this because we have a question from the internet that I wanted to play here, but I think we're from a different era where we're not from like the SoundCloud era and things like that, where you can easily go in and be like, this is my playlist where everything sounds the same. Where when you go see a show, the artist who's headlining may say like, hey, you know, I really like this band. I want to bring them with me. I know you've played with Hello Goodbye and toured with them. We did 2 legs of the drive-through tour back in the day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they're super nice guys. But, you know, again, sonically, we're looking at two sides of a coin. And it seems like, especially more so now, we live in an era where it's like, I just want the things that I like, and I'm not necessarily open to hearing these new artists or kind of broadening my limitations to say like, yeah, I can like this band, but I can also like this band that doesn't sound exactly the same, if that, you know, makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And it's kind of like an insane concept that people would want the I guess the latter form of the latter is that like, I mean, imagine if you like went to like a restaurant and then they're like, here's your mashed potatoes, here's your mashed potatoes, here's your mashed potatoes. It's like, right. The fuck, is this an old folks home? It's like, dude, I want, you know, you want different things. So I just not to sound like a, you know, intellectual where I'm like, I just love everything the same or something, but I can't really grasp the concept of like, why would you want, I don't understand why people would want things to be the same if they're getting artwork delivered to them. I think it's like more bang for your buck if everything's different. It's like, shit, dude. I remember one time I saw a show in a basement in Boston. I saw Mira, who's great, she's just like, oh, just the quietest little lady playing acoustic guitar. And then Ed Gein, which is like basically like a grindcore, not grindcore, but like, I don't know what they are, metal, grindcore, but but just fucking insane. Like the most, it's like just, they played together in a basement. And it was the coolest thing ever because it was like, okay, you get to hear that and you're kind of like, nice. And they come on and then it blasts you even harder. It's like the concept of like, if you set like a tone, you let everyone get used to how loud that is. And then when you bring in the louder one, everyone's like, whoa, it's like, that's fun because I don't know. But I don't get why people would be like, you don't sound like the other band. Like that's very counterintuitive. I'm trying to think of what, like psychologically, like why people do that. I don't know if it's just like, it's probably just like fear-based, just like everything, you know? Yeah.
Or I wonder if it's maybe like a point of comfort where it's like, I know that I like this. And and it sounds weird to talk about it with music, but it's like, I'm afraid to branch out. Like, I think we all know those people that are like, I have the same thing for breakfast every day. And I have the same thing for lunch. And like, this is my routine. And I feel like, especially with music and especially nowadays more than before, because you're right. It's making a landscape. It's let's set the stage with this, get you this kind of feeling, and then let's bring in something that's completely different. And it's almost like a roller coaster ride where it's like, how can I experience multiple feelings instead of just like, I want a baseline heart rate through the entire experience, you know?
Yeah. Well, check this out. Baseline heart rate. If it's like the EKG, if it's like this, you're dead. Right. If you get the little mountain shape, you're alive. And I think, that's good. And speaking of being open to multiple influences and things like that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I read that when you first started playing, you were very into like learning jazz guitar and things like that. And then you went to Berkeley, if I'm correct. And that's where you kind of found folk music. Talk to me a little bit about that. What was it about the jazz guitar when you were starting that was so kind of appealing to you? Because there's a lot of people, especially, from where I'm from in Detroit, where it's like, it's punk rock. It's 4 chords, yell, you know what I mean? Play the drums fast, things like that. Where when you look at something like jazz guitar, it's very, jazz in general, it's very, it can feel sloppy, but it's not, you know what I mean? It's very technical without feeling technical. So what was it that kind of drew you to that originally? Well, I suppose it's like, jazz is so like, it's so weird in itself. Like if you're looking at like, something like Giant Steps, like Coltrane, it's like, there's something like kind of like psychotic about getting, it's almost like Buddhism or something. It's like, you get so good that then you take it all away. It's like, I mean, Giant Steps, like the chord progression, it's like da 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 da. It doesn't even sound like a real like palatable melody, but it's like extremely hard. But it's like, I loved how these guys got so good that they could just wreck it. They would just like fuck it up. Like they just would play wrong, like on purpose, or but it didn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. Like that's what it was. So just like, because it's like, you have all the modes, and then it's like, you got the chromatics in between, and they're just playing at the end of the day, when you get really that good, they can play anything, any notes. It doesn't matter. And then the drummer can like switch times.
Yep.
I go from like 6 and then go into 7 and like whatever. And it's like, something about that feels like more punk rock to me. So I sort of identified with that. I was like, whoa, like you, like, it's basically like, when the Buddha said like, off I go into homelessness, and he like, went and like sat under a tree or sat in a cave. It's like, he wasn't born in a cave or born under a tree. It's like, he went through life and then he was like, fuck it. And then brought it all back. So it's almost like a reversal to me. And something about that is like, I wouldn't say like sexy, but it's like, it feels like the most rebellious action, is to just be like, it's to like, you know, like read the Bible and burn it, you know, read the dictionary and burn it, you know, scramble the letters and be like, I don't need the dictionary. I mean, it's like in a Dead Poets Society when they're ripping their books. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah,
just kind of destroy it, man. I think that's like super like punk, I guess, you know?
Yeah. And I think one thing you said that kind of stands out to me, and especially listening to your music and things like that, is, you know, you mentioned that, you know, this chord progression, you know, doesn't sound like a chord progression, or it's super hard to follow it, or, you know, you can basically do whatever you want under this umbrella. And that really reminds me a lot of what you have done musically throughout your career, you know, because you've got these very warm, heartfelt folk songs, but then you have a song like Arrows or Sunburns that, you know, have this like production value to them. And, you know, or I first discovered you, or I first heard you on the Other Side track. And I was like, I don't know who's doing this hook, but this hook is fucking awesome. And then the video for that it just had this, like, captured this tone. Like, I watched that video and I was like, fuck, man, like, I'm sad, but I'm sad in like a way that, like, I'm happy that I'm sad, that I was like,
I like that.
It evokes the
Happy that
emotion.
you're sad.
So, I mean, is there something freeing about that for you, as far as just being like, I'm just going to fucking do what I want? Like, maybe this song sounds like this, or this album sounds this way, but I'm just going to, you know, whatever comes out, comes out.
Yeah. That would be so weird to me to think, oh, I just have to sound like this. That would be like, it would just be like, I put myself, like, you know, in time out, like in the corner, put myself in jail or something. It's like, I don't understand how you would do that. It'd be like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not trying to sound like I don't get these concepts, but it is odd to me. You know, when I hear like a band like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I'm like, are you guys all right? Like, I feel like they must be like mentally ill or something, where it's like it's just, that's what you're doing. That's what it sounds like. And I'm like, but what are you really saying? Like, what are you saying? Like, how can you, like, some days we're a whimper, some days we're a scream. I don't see how people can just go like, I'm just this. It's very, I mean, and if like, and certainly like there could be some like logistical factors to that, to where like, that's what people know you as, and the label wants you to do that. And that does happen. And then also maybe that's like, just like the only thing you are able to do, like your skill set. But yeah, it just seems to me, that seems like the opposite of art to me.
Yeah. And I wonder too, I mean, you know, not that not that I'm not a Chili Peppers fan, or think they're great at, or don't think that they're great at what they do, but I wonder too, if there's some kind of fear of, this is what we built our house on.
Yeah.
What happens if we now are like, no, let's do a fucking folk record? Like, what happens to our house at that point? And spending these years building this fan base, where with someone like you, it seems like you've built that fan base by doing exactly the opposite. It's just saying like, hey man, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. And you can either come along for it and dig it, or, hey, there's probably another record coming out at some point, so maybe you'll like that one better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really is, man. I know. It's like Texas weather, dude. It's like, if you don't like it, just wait a second. Yeah, it's kind of like that. I remember some kid left a fucking YouTube comment that I thought was so funny. It's for the song Pale Paper. He's like, hey, like, not digging this sound, but like, I'll be back or something. Like, so you're right. And I was like, yeah, you little bastard. I was like, yeah, next record, you'll probably get like your, you know, finger picking back. I'm like, God damn. It was just funny, but it's true. But to me, it's more about the words. I think that's what really, I think people identify with this band, or me, or whatever it is. I think it's the words, because that's the funny thing, man. It's like, you know, like a woman you love, and it's like, Does she have her hair in her ponytail? Is her hair down? Makeup, no makeup, dress, gown, whatever. It's like still the same woman. You still love her, you know, but other thing is just ornamentation, really. So it's kind of like, it's not that it's like a complete like non-importance, but if you really think about it, like if you want to get like heady and like Alan Watts about it, it's kind of like, I mean, who fucking cares? Because like I'm talking to you right now.
Right.
Would it matter if there's the hum of the air conditioning or, you know, a car horn happens behind what I'm saying? The sound behind the words, it's like it will trigger different emotions in you, but you're still listening to me talk. It's sort of like that.
Right.
You know?
And that's another thing that I really find is, speaking of Pale Paper, that's I think one of my favorite videos that you've done. Again, like I can tell that there's just as much, or I don't even want to say I can tell because I don't know like the thought process behind it or, you know, if it's all you, but what it seems like, at least from my perspective, is that there's just as much attention to detail, a love for the art. Like when you do the video, like one of my favorite things about the Pale Paper video is like you're in silhouette a lot. You know, you're on the boat, and like there's a lot of silhouette where it's like it's almost like you're there but you're not there, and then again the song is what's carrying the video, right? Which, you know, especially looking at you know Red Hot Chili Peppers, for example, since we were talking about them, you know, like what is their production value on a music video, and does it, or what's their budget, and does it evoke the emotion that you're able to by silhouetting your face and setting the scene? You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, you can tell that there's a lot of attention that's paid to it, and it's something I really enjoy. That I enjoy the videos as much as I enjoy the album. So
cool. I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, like definitely it's I mean, you know, not to put it bluntly, but like who wants to make a bad video, you know? I mean, it's like I want it to be pretty. I like I'm not like some like film buff or whatever, and I find most music videos to be sort of like I don't really dig them or anything. So I try to make them cool, not cool, but like pretty or something, because it's just, it would be a real bummer to, you know, try really hard to make music and then just like fuck it up with a horrible video, which I've maybe done on accident. I don't remember, but you know, it's yeah, it's cool. But for that video, it was neat. We just it was just me and my friend Christian Sorensen Hansen. What a crazy name, Christian Sorensen Hansen. That's a lot of syllables, right? Christian from Michael Mansfield. Same syllables as my name. Interesting. 2 sevens, syllabic sevens. I just like hung out with him for the day, and we just like shot stuff, and then we kind of put it together and just made it pretty. I just felt like it was neat. I think he did a really good job. I think it's pretty. I appreciate that.
No, thank you for you know, there's I don't know, again, I think it's and you've touched on this a little bit, I think specifically with the Arrows video and the song in general, but like, you know, when you create a piece of art, like it's yours and you're proud of it, and then you put it out into the world, and that's where it's kind of subjected to all of the criticism, or, you know, kind of like you said, like, oh, I'll be back for the next one, where again, I think there's a level of bravery to doing that. I mean, if you make me, even if you're a kid, you know, making music in your bedroom and putting it on SoundCloud, I think there's still a level of bravery to that, to say like, hey man, this is what I poured my effort into, do what you want with it. So I appreciate you putting in the work, because it's brought me a lot of joy.
Thank you. Thank you.
I did want to ask you this. So what was it about the folk music and kind of getting into that kind of drew you into that? Because when I like listen to your records, I really do think it's like there's like an element of like the like modern day, you know, Cat Stevens, or, you know, it's I don't feel you as much as like a singer-songwriter as I do as a poet who puts those poems to music. And I think that's very evident when you go through and start reading the lyrics and things like that. So what was it about folk that kind of drew you to that side?
Well, I appreciate that sentiment because I agree. I do feel more I'm more a man of words, you know. I think it's just like mechanically, it's the best way to, you know, it's the best music form to put poems onto because it's just simple. It's just, you know, and you know, whatever, but it's not, I mean, it's not like I'm playing like black metal and then it's like, you're like, I can't understand him. Like, what's he saying? And I'm like screaming or whatever. It's right. Like, it really, I mean, the song structures for these songs is just like, you know, a few chords. And so I was like, just up, like, and then I can say whatever I want. And it's like, you can really, it's the best kind of plate for the information, it seems to me. Because like, I mean, look at like Bob Dylan, it's like, I don't think do people go like, oh, listen to Bob Dylan's guitar.
Right.
No, like, you know, so that's like the best, like potential or you know, possible, or it is, it's the easiest way to have your words be heard. And then, you know, obviously you go with like pop music and stuff, but you know, I struggled with, cause I love making pop songs and all that stuff. I think it's awesome sounding. And I love like that shimmery kind of like indie rock, like Death Cab for Cutie and stuff like that. But the words are still the thing. And as far as folk, it was like, I mean, I don't know, it really fucked me up. I mean, I guess when I heard like Elliott Smith, like that really got me. That really was kind of
Figure Eight is one of like my like favorites of all time.
Yeah, it's great. But think about Figure Eight versus Self-Titled.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see that. It's just so different. But he's still saying things, and you're still like, wow, that's Elliott Smith, you know?
Yeah, and I think there's some people who kind of, I think it's a basic idea that the chords are a vehicle for the words, for the thought, for the emotion. But there's some people who execute it at a much higher level, you know? And I think that's kind of what, I think that's when you talk about someone like Elliott Smith. I'm a big fan. I don't know if you like M. Ward. I'm a big fan of M. Ward. I think he's
cool.
Yeah.
I think I've played a couple shows with him, M. Ward. You remember him? Yeah,
he's got a song, Big Dark Well. And for some reason, when I hear that song, I'm just like, it's like right here. I could not listen to it for like 7-8 years, and it would just be like, it hits me the same way.
Yeah.
And I feel like
even the title's good, man. The title's good.
Yeah. Or on that same record, I'll Be Your Bird. Just I
like that.
Yeah. There's people.
I'll Be Your Bird. Good. I like that record.
You're in that category where it's like, yes, I like the music, but I'm listening to hear what the lyrics are, what the story is. And one thing I find very interesting about you is that like, even in a song like Arrows, which, you know, when you talk about doing like pop music, it is very, it's produced like Ryan Lewis produced it. So it's like, it's got this like pop sensibility to it. But when you boil it down to what it is, it's about, at least from my understanding, it's about fame. And then what happens when you hit that level of success, and is it what you really want? Things like that. So I thought it was I don't know. It's crazy to see somebody who like M. Ward or Elliott Smith, for example. I couldn't see them putting out a song that has like an 808, you know what I mean? Or like some, you know, crazy dance track, but you're able to kind of blend both worlds, which I think is very interesting.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's fun. I'm glad that I didn't sort of, you know, bury myself too deep into a certain sonic structure, because I don't know, man. I actually was having this conversation with someone a couple days ago. I was like blasting like Kendrick Lamar, and they're like, "You like this?" I was like, "Yeah." Like, listen to the like, I want to steal that, like, you know, that hi-hat, like, you know, because I just want to hear everything and put it everywhere. I mean, it's really, it's just strange to me to think like, okay, say I'm a musician and go, well, you need to be a student of all of it. everything. You should know everything. It's like, you should, you know, what's the kick drum in like a Slayer song? Maybe you want to use that sound, you know?
Right.
So yeah, I just have a lot of fun with that kind of stuff. And I listen to everything, and I don't listen to it in a sense to where like I like it. I just am listening to it. Right. And that's just kind of the funny thing. I mean, the only thing I listen to that I'll just like start crying is like probably like Jason Molina or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's a fucking genius. But everything else, I just sort of, I'm just like mostly like studying. It feels like, you know.
Well, and I think, you know, especially when you think about like folk songs and the comparisons to hip hop, you know, like we said, like the chords are kind of, in folk music, the chords are the vehicle for the story. And I think that there's a very similar connection in hip hop where it's, hey, like, yeah, this is a beat, but this beat is the vehicle for my story. Especially when you go back and look at, you know, like Grandmaster Flash, and you look at things like NWA, where it's very Kendrick Lamar, perfect example, where it's like, hey, I'm telling my story. I'm just using this beat as the way to get there, you know? And I feel like there's it draws a comparison that a lot of people don't necessarily put together.
Well, the weirdest thing is that they're like the most similar music styles. Like, to me.
Yeah.
That's why. And I don't think it's like, I guess, but that was astute, because I don't think people really talk about that or like try to explain that to people. Like, because I think you just sound like a crazy person, but to me, it's exactly the same. I'm like, okay, like you have like a you know, Travis picking, like take the guitar away, and the guy's like, you know, it's like, what the fuck is really the difference? Like, absolutely zero difference. Right. And then when people, you know, they probably try to be like, well, hip hop now is just like, like, you know, like, because right now I feel like they're kind of blowing it with a lot of it, like just kind of like money, money, it's like, but that's okay, because it's almost like, it's just like a repetitive, like kind of calming, weird, like vocal hook. It's almost like, okay, well, you're not trying to say anything, and you're not pretending that you are, you know. It's like the vocals have almost become like on some of the new hip hop, it's almost just like a piano riff, like a bam bam da da da, you know.
Sit down and map it out.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, like when Lil Uzi was on that like Migos track, he's like yeah, but like it goes on for so long. I'm like, what the fuck? But I was like, you know what? I'm like, don't judge the guy and go, hey, you're not saying anything. It's like, well, it's a sound. It sounds cool.
And
right?
Are people singing it in their car? Like, is it in your head when you're in the grocery store? Are you like,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like picking out grapes and shit. You know,
it's weird, and I definitely have battled with that, because I'm just like, I mean, I've had those like asshole fucking, you know, intellectual literary guy moments where I'm like, you're not saying anything, and I'm like, dude, so what? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if I want to hear someone say a bunch of shit, I'll go listen to somebody else. But I mean, I'm getting off track slightly, but the new hip hop, it's kind of ridiculous, I think. And like, you have Cardi B, just like, it's like two live crew. It's just like, it's like dick, pussy, boobs, pussy, boobs, dick. And it's like I'm a bitch, I'm a bad dick. Like, it's just like, it's the same cadence, and it's just like all based on like ego, saying how, you know, just talking about your human biology and how like it's the best, and how you don't give a fuck about anybody, and you're gonna walk away, and like, it's just like odd, just very kind of ego music. But I think it sells because, like, yeah, you have some girl who's probably like not attractive or something, and she's been bullied her whole life, or she's, you know, never had a boyfriend, and she's in her car and she's like, I'm a bitch, and she gets that rush, and she's just like, yeah, me too, like, I'm a bad bitch too.
Yeah, there's some like empowerment to it.
There's empowerment, yeah. So I can't really, flame that either. But in general, though, like when you think about hip hop, when you think about like Mos Def, like Black on Both Sides, like speech is my hammer, bang the world into shape. Now let it fall. My only nemesis is my loneliness. It's like, dude, I want to sing that, dude. Like, amazing.
Oh yeah, and Mos Def is one of those guys that like. There's a documentary, I think it's called The Art of Rhyme, where it's like there's a clip of him in a cipher in the park in New York, and it's just the way that he is able to ride. The way that he's able to ride a verse fucking blows my mind. There's some people like I'm a big Wu-Tang fan, Method Man. Like when you listen to a Method Man record, it doesn't sound like someone rapping over a beat. It sounds like he is part of that beat. And like that music is like coming from him as opposed to like, yeah, turn on the track and let me just go. You know what I mean? So I don't know. And as far as like the Cardi B and stuff, like it's weird. I'm torn because I do feel like a lot of it is just like, let me sell my sexuality, or like you said, my anatomy. But then the other part of me is like, well, fuck, people have been doing that to women for years. And now it's someone that is like, no, I'm going to do it and I'm going to make the money. And like you said, I'm going to get that girl in the car. That's like, yeah, I am a bad bitch. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah, I know, it's cool. Right. And it's weird because I've had that kind of like weird issue with myself. I remember like, I'm like, dude, like what? Like, I'm like, oh, singing about like murder. Is that cool? Like singing about drugs. And I'm thinking about like, well, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Yeah. I'm like, what else? There's drugs, there's love, there's murder, there's vaginas, there's penises. There's like not that much shit to sing about. So it's like weird. So I'm going like, oh shit, man, if she wants to say that shit, like cool, because yeah, I listen to it like primarily like when I'm kind of hanging around, I have like a shortwave radio app. I just listen to old country songs, and it's every song is the same, and it's like there's one, it's like this, I can't remember who it is, but it's really an old song. It's like, if you don't want to go to Fifth City, it's like a woman saying like, I'm gonna fucking beat your ass, Fifth City. And I'm like, shit, like that could be a Cardi B song.
Yep.
So it's weird. The themes that we have, I mean, that's the thing. We're all unique, but we're really not. It really is. It's just like sex, fighting, substances, love. The love goes away, you die, and like really, what else is there? And
the crazy thing is that it's been like that since the first human being. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's the shit that like, it's the pillars that they never erode. Like those are all emotions. Those are all, since the beginning of time, somebody's been trying to figure out how to get fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah. So it's like, it's, or you think about Dolly Parton with Jolene, you know what I mean? She's like, hey, just don't fuck my dude. You know what I mean? Like, so even going back then, it's just,
I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. I mean, that's so sad and amazing, dude. Yeah. And then Cardi B's like, if you take my man, I'm gonna fuck you up. It's like, but it's the same. It's the same. And that's the thing. And that's why it's like, not to get like to like Alan Watts or some shit, but like, what is style? What is any of it? It's like, it all is just, I don't know. Once you realize it's all just different sort of subtle ways to just describe your human experience while you're here for a second. I mean, Duncan Trussell said, he's like, we're a dolphin jumping out of infinity, and you have a chance to do like one little trick, and you go back into nothing. I mean, if you think about it, like how long we've been here and how short we have this time, it's like, so that's like kind of like, I can see like problematic things personally with, music styles, like how it affects us like culturally, where it's like, Idiocracy or something, like all this like terrible music coming out, and it makes us all like dumb. But at the same time, I'm like, if that's what's supposed to be happening right now, and that's how people want to describe the human experience, that's okay. And even to go even deeper, if the people that are describing the human experience are not being honest and there's someone above them trying to make money, that's them doing their human experience.
Right.
So it's like, there's nothing really wrong with whatever's going on. You just have to, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah. And I agree. And I don't know, man, it's just, for me, it feels like music and art, there's waves, or it feels like a pendulum that always comes back, one way or the, like talking about like, oh, is this going to cause, idiocracy, where it's like, well, what if you swing over to like the early 60s, you know what I mean? And you've got your Chuck Berrys and stuff like that, where people are like, this is going to be the end of, like it's corrupting our kids and everything. So it's this pendulum it just seems like every couple of years it's something new, but we fall into the same, like, as a society, it's like something that we're scared of, you know what I mean? Or if you're not,
absolutely,
if you don't get it, if you're not on the in, that makes me feel like an old man. Sometimes I'm like, shit, man, well, maybe I don't bang with Cardi B because I just don't understand it, because I'm in my mid 30s now. I'm just an old fucking guy. You know what I mean?
I know, dude. I mean, you never want to be the person who's like, burning records, and like when I used to do that, burning Beatles records, like, what the fuck? So I was on the Beatles. I'm like, that's like the most innocent thing I've ever heard.
I want to hold your hand.
Yeah. Hey, we better burn that record. Look
Right.
out, everybody. Yeah. It's silly. Or yeah. Like, what is it? I'm the Walrus. So take it to the town square. Let's burn it.
Right.
So yeah, you don't want to ever be, I guess, on the wrong side of history. So I just think there is that sort of like confliction of, it's like sometimes I feel like the need to like protect artwork when I feel like it's going so terribly wrong and it's going to be like taken away and ruined. Because I'm like, eventually there's going to be like, I mean, to be honest with you, not to sound like crazy, but music's probably just going to turn into like AI, like robots making music for us. And like, so then like, there is that sense of protection of it where you're like,
right.
Hold on, like, can somebody please play a guitar and write something intelligent, please? But it is, it goes where it's going. I mean, it's like speaking of Mos Def, he said, in the song is like, a lot of people ask me like where's hip hop going? He says, well, where are we going?
Right.
And I think that's I always loved that he said that, because I was like, shit, that's like all of artwork. It's like it's if it goes bad, it's our fault.
Right.
If it goes good, it's our fault. So there is a sense of protection where I feel like, I'm like, come on, over here. But I'm just one person. So I just do what I think is pretty, and if everyone wants to go fuck it up, or I would be like, that'd be my opinion that they fucked it up. But like, maybe that's where it's supposed to go. It's sort of a tough kind of mental battle, I guess. But I try to, exactly not be the Beatles album burning mother. Right. I try to be open, even though probably we all know in the back of my head, I'm just like, God damn it. Like, this shit sucks. Like, it's okay.
You don't want to be like you say, you don't want to be the guy in history. It's like, who's this Elvis sicko? You know what I mean? Where it's like,
yeah, exactly. He's like, why is he moving his hips?
Right.
Like that.
Well,
yeah. And Chuck Berry, his little dance. I didn't, what's funny is that Chuck Berry, that like the chicken walk or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently this probably sounds so much like folklore, but I heard that he ripped his pants and he did it to hide the rip. Like he like tore his pants and he was like, oh shit. And he like did a still dance and everyone was like, oh my God. Like,
yeah, he didn't have that Lenny Kravitz swag where he ripped his pants and then put his foot up on the monitor. It's like,
so funny,
check this out.
I know, I feel so weird that like I've seen Lenny Kravitz's penis. I wish I didn't, but I did. I looked at the picture and his penis was just hanging out. But what didn't he? I don't know. Maybe it was edited, but I feel like he had like a cock ring. Is that like He had something on his penis.
He actually had a mini Strat, and it was playing as well. It was like, I got this one.
I hated that. The leather pants like torn, and he's like, just his penis is out. I'm just like, that. I don't know, dude. I've seen like, that's like worse than seeing like a beheading video to me or something.
Well, it's just not what you want to, start your day off with. You know what I mean?
No, and I think someone, my friend Regis, he always sends me like Reddit links. That's my new thing, dude. If someone sends me a fucking Reddit link, I'm not going to click it, because every time I click it, it's just some fucking weird thing. And I remember, I think it was the morning, and he's like, check it out. And I clicked it, and then it's like, there's Lenny Kravitz's dick. And I'm like, cool, guess I'm going to get up and make coffee, try to live. Right. Like, insane.
Well, I did, because I want to get into, so we have this, there was something I wanted to talk to you about that we actually have a question from the internet. Somebody wrote in. So we do have a question from the internet song. I'm going to play that. Awesome. So this week's question is from Quentin from Detroit. And he actually emailed in and said, hey, Chris, big fan and excited to get the Deluxe reissue. I was curious, do you feel that living through an era of playing basement shows and coffee houses was living in a specific point in history? What I mean is, do you think this is a rite of passage that young musicians coming up today will never be able to understand? And I thought that was a really good question, because, I know you were in New York for a while after school, and, you played coffee houses and basement shows. And I mean, I remember, Jimmy Eat World and the Get Up Kids playing basement shows in Detroit, before their records exploded. And it doesn't seem like now, again, with, things like SoundCloud and things like that, like, it doesn't seem like there's really scenes the way that there used to be. So do you feel like that's do you feel like that's going to be a pendulum kind of thing? Or do you feel like, with technology now, that's just a different era?
Yeah, shit. That is a really good question, actually. It's funny. Yeah. I mean, cause I used to, hear stories from like friends that are like, like 42 years old or something. Like I saw At the Drive-In at like a bowling alley, there's like 5 people, and I was like, no way, man. Like, tell me about it, and that was like incredible, dude. Or like, yeah, I saw Elliott Smith at a bookstore. Like, to me, that's that's like the most romantic part. Not like, yo, like this dude like put up a song on SoundCloud and it like blew up. Like, if you just think about it, I mean, which one has more romance, right? It's like, one of them is easier than the other, because I mean, I've played, I remember I went on tour, my first tour I ever went on. I remember I stopped in like Eugene, Oregon, and we literally played it was like a coffee shop bakery just to the girl that was working. That was it. No one came except for the girl that was working there. And she wasn't even really listening. And that sucks. So it's like, but if I really think about it deeply, it's like kind of being like an apprentice. You're an apprentice to the mastery of work like that. So it's like, but if there's a way to sort of circumvent that, it's hard to shame people if they say, hey man, like, I don't want to fucking deal with, playing for the janitor. Right. Or the guy just like mopping the fucking table at the bar. They're like, I just want to they're like, I don't really even want to learn to play instruments. I don't even want to be good. I just want to use my computer and just put it on the internet, and then boom, I have it. And it's like, wow. But the real question is like, how do you sleep at night if that's what you're doing? It seems a little bit bad, like karmically, I suppose.
Well, and I think I think when I think about you, I do think of you as an artist. And I think that's very much an artist mentality, is like, I've never met someone. I dated a girl for a really long time. Her dad was a painter. And, you know, you go around, do all these art shows. And I never once saw him be like, yeah, I just went out there and was like, look, here's the paint. But he, you know, he's like, yeah, I spent like 12 hours, and he did landscapes and things like that. But it was like, he was out there like meticulously making sure that the branches on the pine trees look like branches on a pine tree, and is everything in the correct aspect ratio and things like that. He wasn't like, just fucking, you know, went out there and did something for a couple minutes and put it on the internet. It's, you know, and even with somebody like Jackson Pollock, who like, that's what it looks like if you're not someone who, you know, understands what he was doing. But, you know, it looks like he was just throwing shit on a canvas, but it was very meticulous and done.
Yeah, it was,
you know.
There's a really weird thing. Speaking of, I don't want to go off of it, but I think it stays in route. Brian Eno, I'm sure you know who Brian Eno is, but he was talking about like, and then this actually ties in because the work exists in the, you know, sort of in the work. Like that's where the beautiful part is within the work. Like the outcome is like almost irrelevant, I think, for me, you know, and that's probably why I'm not, you know, a millionaire or whatever. And I have friends that are millionaires who are like far less intelligent than me and can't write or anything with it, you know, but it's within the work. So Brian, you know, was talking about, yes, if you have a, you know, a Jackson Pollock, like it looks like this, like randomized, like splatter, but he would say, well, think of this, like, he would record like sounds of nature and then try to recreate them, and it'd take a terribly long time just to make the clone of the thing that already exists that he could have just recorded and put on something. But he said that the beautiful thing was in his work to recreate it. And he was, you know, pulling from Pollock and saying, well, imagine we had a Jackson Pollock, like that could take, you know, theoretically what, like, you know, seconds, just pop, right? Mm-hmm. But he said, and then someone who had to completely recreate it, get a piece of paper and then do every little thing. He said it could take a year, right? So he said that sometimes the work and the beauty is in that effort, even if it mimics something that took no ability, or not ability, but like essentially took like no time. And I thought that was so interesting. I was like, wow, I was like, he's obsessed with the process. And that ties into, SoundCloud, coffee shops. It's like, you know, the SoundCloud is the Jackson Pollock, and the coffee shop is, you know, Brian Eno trying to, you know, recreate it like a perfect clone. And it's just more time. But I don't know. I found that fascinating, honestly.
Yeah. And I think it speaks to, you know, art and music. I mean, whether you separate them or look at it together, I think it is the one avenue where something can be created in seconds and then chased for lifetimes. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we were listening to I told you my daughter's 2, and we were listening to Jackie Wilson, Your Love Lifted Me Higher. And she, you know, she likes to go, I'm playing trumpet, and like pretend like she's playing trumpet. But I was thinking, I was like, I wonder how many people were like, I love the fucking sound of that trumpet. How can I, like, how much time has been spent being like, how can I get that Motown sound in 22? You know what I mean? So it's like we create something in a moment or in this flash, or, you know, a flash in the pan. And then there's people that love it and are consider it so enduring that they're like, I've got to spend all this time to figure out how I can even get close to that. And I don't think that, you know, like, I don't know. I don't see, it's hard for me to imagine like a construction worker that's like, you see that building down on 5th and Main? I'm trying to figure out how to pour that concrete. I've been working on it for fucking 10. It's like you pour the concrete, you know what I mean? So it's, I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's weird that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. I'm agreeing, man. I mean, it's like something like kind of like Bobby Fischer, right? If you had like why did that fucking kid care about like chess like so much? You listen to it on this radio, just a little kid, just listen to chess, look at chess, like, you know, draw it out, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, but then he's the best chess player in the fucking world, and he's young. And it's like, you need those like madmen, man, or mad women, or mad people. You need that. Because you have to have those people that just are like almost like borderline mentally ill. Yeah, like a guy who's like, what is concrete? Like, okay, how do you mix concrete? Like, what's the best way to lay concrete? What's the best place to lay concrete? Like, yeah, and people are like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, they're like, 10 years later, they're like, man, have you seen that road? That guy made the best road in the world.
Asphalt is fucking pristine.
So you need to be kind of crazy, I think, and that's I think that's cool. And I think a lot of people, they're doing new stuff now are not crazy. I think that they're basically just like dopamine chasers, I guess, something like that. It's like, oh, Instagram, I just want to get more people on Instagram and more, more money or something. It's just but there's not a lot of madmen left, I don't think. But that's what but thank God that there was at one point, because then we would have nothing to emulate or to kind of mimic or ape or go off of or whatever. So we needed that. And I would like there to be more like in the future. I mean, I think that now we're in a weird thing where it's like, the new Jack Kerouac is probably like Elon Musk or something. It's like those like madmen that you're like, whoa, like this guy's like, I mean, he doesn't care that he's the richest man in the world.
That's my favorite tweet ever, was when he's like,
interesting.
He was like, interesting. Time to go back to work.
I mean, but see, he's a fucking crazy person. And I think that's what you need, instead of someone being like, I'm the richest motherfucker in the world. Like, fuck you. Like, no, fuck you. Like, I want the richest man in the world to be like, oh, what is money? I'm trying to think about like how to ship like, a trash can to Jupiter. Like, he doesn't give a shit. But that's it. That's the artist mentality is within the work. It's not, he doesn't care that I'm sure he enjoys being wealthy, but like he's probably just like eats food I've never even heard of. And, probably sleeps in like a really nice bed. I don't like the fabric count of his sheets is probably insane, but
yeah, I think it also is like, I think it's also easy to say like, oh, interesting, back to work. But when you're someone like him being that wealthy, like if you took it all away, does he continue to have the same, does he continue to make the same movement as he's been making now? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think he would. I mean, there's that old kind of thing I've heard where it's like, if you were to give all the money, like spread all the wealth around evenly, that the wealthy people would just have it within like a year.
Right.
Again. So I think it could be a matter of that. I think, dude, that guy,
he's a fucking super genius. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, you could literally take all of his money and like, just like put it in a garbage can, and then he would just get it again. I believe that. Yeah. I don't think he works, for the money at all. I mean, I don't know him, but I just kind of get that sense about him.
Right.
Like, there's no way, because it's like, if he wanted to work for the money, then he would just like stop. He just stop right now.
Right.
So it's
like, how much wealth can you accumulate until you're like, enough is enough,
He'd be like, cool, I'm the richest guy in the world. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna like never do it. He could just start like shitting his pants. He could just start wearing diapers and like having people eat him. It's like, he has like the financial ability to just give up entirely. But like, what's that? Like,
right.
Because again, like that just proves the point. It's like, it's the work.
Right.
It's
and
the work.
The rewards are specifically due to the work. You know what I mean? Especially when you look at, like, this is the guy that's like, I want to go 10 miles underground or 15 miles underground and build a high speed rail across the entire country. It's like, and not only like, not only do I want to do this, but here's a way that we could. I've fucking mapped it all out. I know, like, these are logistics. Like, I think there's just some people whose brains work that like I mean, someone like me, I'm just like, I could never fucking understand it. You know what I mean? I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing, but like,
yeah,
I'm not built to process that way.
There's something like selfless about him too. We can get off of Elon Musk in a second, but there's something oddly selfless about him. They were like saying like, you know, why do you want to go to Mars and whatever? And he's just talking about like, yeah, like the sun's going to burn out, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, he's going to be long gone, but like, it's crazy that he, I don't know if that's like just for show or something, but it's crazy that he, as a man who probably has like 30 to 40 years left in his body, is thinking about like the longevity of the human race.
Yeah.
It's like pretty cool because I think that, you know, nobody thinks like that. Definitely not, clearly. So.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I feel like it scares me because I'm like, oh, if Elon Musk were to just suddenly wake up and decide that he's evil, he's like Lex Luthor. He's like, you know what I mean? He could build it's like, could he build something that took us out or, you know, but again, just the way that his brain works, I think you're right. It's like, we need those madmen, those people who are just like, no, I'm going to change the game. And I think you're right when you said like right now, it just doesn't seem like we have any or as many. And I'm wondering again, if that's kind of that pendulum where it's like, we're in this state right now where everyone's kind of comfortable. And then eventually it's going to swing. So, and people are like, we got to fucking break something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like you go like, you know, Kurt Cobain to Fred Durst. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, right. It is like a pendulum. It does kind of go in circles. I don't know. I don't really know what we need, like culturally, musically, like what's going to like save us. But then I'm like, well, do we need saving? Like save us from what? So it's kind of, you know, it's weird. Like, I don't think we're not like a, you know, like protest songs or something. And it's like, and does it even do anything is the other weird part that is kind of tricky. It's like, did Rage Against the Machine really do anything?
Right.
Except make money for themselves and their families and make people like, you know, like, I think that's all the people heard. You know, but they're trying to like change something, but they didn't really change anything. And I don't think you can. I mean, so it's sort of a drag. So it's like, it's weird to think about like culturally, like really like music that's trying to like, you know, protest like certain political ideals or whatever, and realizing that it does a lot of times it doesn't do anything, you know. And then anytime there is somebody who steps forward like in a big way, they just get murdered. So it's almost like, I don't know, it seems sort of pointless sometimes. And I sound like a defeatist, but it's tough because that's the thing. I'm like, yeah, like is there someone going to come back and save everything? But it's like what are they saving, and is that even possible? And it's interesting to think about. Yeah,
well, and I think music does a really good job, you know, especially when you're talking about protest songs. Like I think you have to pair. You know what I mean? Like you needed someone like Martin Luther King at the time that Bob Dylan was making those records. But there's also a reason that Martin Luther King was assassinated and you know, oh my God, Bob Dylan wasn't, you know what I mean? Because, you know, yes, why Bob Dylan's getting all these people amped about it. Who's the one who's actually doing the change? You know what I mean? So it's weird because you think of that time as like the protests and the counterculture but was it changing anything or was it lifting up the people who were, you know, which I think is a kind of interesting thought, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I think like music is really like culturally powerful. Like it can shift like everything. Like I think we sort of sit on the bed of aesthetics, I guess. It's like, you know, like movies and songs. I mean, that's what we sort of ride around on, like, and that's what can completely change the culture. But I don't think that a lot of times at least I don't know. I haven't seen it. It's like it changes people, like it changes their moods and inspires them and stuff like that. But it's not like, it's not a fucking tank, it's not, it's not Panzer. It's like, it's a guitar. So it's, I don't know. It's a small weapon. I think it more so, I feel like can shift things in people's minds, and then maybe they can change their ways about things or something. But yeah, it'd be funny to think. I mean, because dude, you could get, who's the best living songwriter right now? I don't even know. But like technically, who knows? Whoever it is, they could write a song about like, Donald Trump is a bad guy or something. But is Donald Trump just going to die in his sleep because that song came out? It really just doesn't work. It's weird. I mean, it's just a sound, it's funny.
Well, I did want to ask you this because, again, we've been going here for a little bit, and I know it's your birthday. And like I said, I really appreciate you hanging out, and I don't want to monopolize, the majority of your evening, but I was kind of curious. Failure Sculptures, the deluxe reissue, it's out now. There's a new lyric video out for Paper Roots. You can get it on Spotify and stream it. Buy a record, you know what I mean? Go out and buy something you can hold. But my question I wanted to ask is, what was it about this record? Because your first record came out ended 2009, 2010. It was the Ultimate Puke that was on MySpace, right? And then that led to FENCES, where you got to work with Sarah Quinn from Tegan and Sarah, and then you had Lesser Oceans, and Lesser Oceans has Sunburns and Arrows, and you're working with Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, and then Failure Sculptures comes out. What is it about this particular record that made you say, like, this is the one that I want to put out as the reissue? Is there a certain a closeness that you have to it, or?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. It's one of those things where like, I'm not trying to like denounce any of the previous work or whatever, but I wouldn't even say it's because it's my most recent or my last, because my favorite record now is my new EP, so it's all, the new one's always like your favorite baby or whatever. But that record is like it's like hard for me to listen to. Like if someone says like, "Hey man, will you play me, Paper Route on acoustic guitar or something," like not to sound like a weirdo, but like on the second verse I'll like start crying. It's like it's really it's a hard one. I just I say something like, you say her new dad is better, but you are a revolving door. It's like literally talking about my kid having like a new dad. I mean, it's like, fuck, like you look like your mama did, the park where we used to live. It's like, I mean, that song's really about the last time I saw my kid at a park. So it's like fucked up. So it's like, it's a hard album because it's like, I don't know. It's like basically like if someone says like, "Hey man, tell me like the saddest, memory that you have." And you're like, "I don't really want to talk about it." But they're like, "Oh, but you have to because it's a song and you're playing a show." And you're like, "Fuck." No. So it's kind of a tricky thing. So this record is intense for me. But I'll play anything off, like Sunburns, like that's not even about anything. It's just cool. It sounds cool.
Right.
But it's not about a real person, at all. But this one is just everything is absolutely real. And so it's tough. So that's why I think I was like, dude, let's put it out again. I think it's a special record, and it sort of just set the tone to like release the next one. Like, I mean, the new EP comes out like April 16th. So it's like, we're getting right up on that. It was just sort of like "Hey guys, remember me? Remember how fucked up and sad this record is?" Like, sort of,
Now with the new EP, because again, I think it takes, like you said, with Sunburns, like you can sit down and like, I really do feel like anyone can sit down and write a song. You know what I mean? If you have a basic idea of like, this is a melody, or if you listen to the radio, you know what I mean? I grew up listening to like early 90s country. My mom loved it. So it was like Clint Black and Alan Jackson, stuff like that. So it's like
Chattahoochee.
Yeah. So you hear that stuff and it's like, oh, okay, it's a verse and a chorus and a verse, and there's a bridge, and then there's a chorus, and then you're done, you know? So like if you listen to the radio enough, you can sit down and write a song. But I think, again, what kind of separates someone like that from someone like you, especially on Failure Sculptures, is that can I write from a place of vulnerability? Am I okay with saying like, hey, this is me, these are my stories, now it's out there. Again, you know, you guys can either love it or reject it, but it's who I am and what I've been through.
Yeah.
Is the new EP that same kind of, is it going to have that same kind of vulnerability to it? Is that, I mean, has it been like you've opened a door and now that's, because I imagine that like it's got to be almost like a type of therapy when you're like, oh shit, like I can put this down to paper and then I put it out. You know what I mean? It's like when they say like write a letter to someone, you don't ever have to send it, but like write a letter and talk about how you feel and put it in your drawer. Like, is it that same kind of like, okay, I'm processing now?
It totally is. Yeah, you're right. I opened the door, I can't close it. It's kind of like, I guess like lyrically, the new EP is like just as sad as Failure Sculptures. It's like Failure Sculptures with like 808 on it. You know what I mean? It is like yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. I totally did a bunch of real like modern, you know, kind of slick things on it, but lyrically it's just the same. I don't know. I like how you said that. It's like, it's kind of like, you know, you open a door, you can't close it, because now I feel like I've gotten better or developed or found my sound or anything like that. But I feel like lyrically, it would be hard for me for some reason to go back and then just be like, you know, talking about something that wasn't really what's going on. So yeah, I made it a little more shimmery and poppy and modern and stuff, but lyrically it's a thing I can't really turn it off now. It's like, cause now I know, you know, how to do it. And it's just, I don't know if I had like a breakthrough, but I don't know. I made a joke with a friend who was like, it's like, how do you write lyrics? And he was like texting me. And then he said all this stuff. I said all this stuff. And then I screen grabbed it and I sent it back to him. I go, there's your lyrics. And like, you know, we're all just saying lyrics like all the time, you know, and it that like kind of like just press record on your life for a few minutes and then put it out. And that sounds like esoteric or something, but it's kind of weirdly true. Like, and I sort of, you know, I can't turn that off now. Just sort of having that realization that we you know, like, where's hip hop going? Like, where are we going? Right? It's like, so I just sort of am not so concerned with, oh, I need to like write these lyrics. I'm like, well, like what the fuck happened today? Like, boom, boom, boom. Like, just be quick about it, because, you know, Jack Kerouac wrote On the Road in 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it just sort of feels that way. So lyrically it is rather, I guess, gushy or something, but I made it sound possibly more palatable just for what people would think, you know? Yeah.
Well, I'm sure too, like once you get to that place, that going in and just being like, okay, now I'm just gonna, like, there's gotta be like a sense of, I'm not being like authentic, or now this feels insincere, because I have gotten to a place where like, I can just kind of be like, like you said, hit record on your life. And I think, again, like with On the Road, like, yes, On the Road is written, it's written as in the form of fictional characters in the book, but you know, it's based on Allen Ginsberg and Kerouac himself. And it's like you said, he hit record on his life and then was like, here it is. You know what I mean? And I think that's really what I think the people that can do that and good decisions, bad decisions, good times, bad times, capture those moments and again, use those chords as the vehicle. I think that's really where that art starts to shine through. So I'm super excited for the new record. I'm super excited for the 808s. I fucking love that. And I just want to say thanks for being here, man. Again, I know it's your birthday and you've probably got a bunch of, during COVID, probably as many plans as you can have, but I really appreciate you hanging out and spending some time.
I'm going to go eat ramen. That's my only plan, but
just the broth, no noodles.
Well, I was making that joke last night, actually, with my girl. We were like, I love ramen. She's like, I just want to drink the broth. I'm like, I know. I was like, I think I just want like 5 noodles or something. Yeah, I kind of just want the broth, man. But yeah, that's the hard thing about ramen. I think I was probably talking about that last night on or earlier today on the live, where it's like, if you see someone sit down and just like finish a bowl of ramen, I'm like, they're a psycho. There's no like. I'm
not a noodle guy. I'm not a big pasta guy.
I don't like them either. So it's like, do I even like ramen? I mean, maybe I'll be like, hey, it's my birthday. No noodles, please. They'll be like, what? They're like, what do you want?
I would like soup. We serve ramen. It's my birthday. Just bring me some fucking soup.
And I just put like a gun on the table.
I said, I want soup. But
it's like, what was it that Jack Nicholson, he's in that movie and he's like, can I get a BLT? They're like, sir, we don't have that. He's like, all right, well, how about you get your ass in there? Give me some bacon. Give me a tomato, 2 slices of bread, and I'll do the, you know what I mean?
I'll do the rest.
Yeah. And you're just like, holy shit. But like, yeah, maybe it's my birthday. Maybe I'll just do that. I'll just be like, all right, you can't just do that. I'm like, how about you get in there? You make the ramen and you don't put any fucking noodles in.
Right. Run it through a strainer. Just hook a guy up.
Run it through a strainer. Oh, that's funny, man. Dude, yeah, and then I'll like pay extra. You'd think I'd pay less, but I'll end up
less ingredients. They're like upcharge.
I know they're like plus $250, no noodles. I'm like, how does that work? But that's probably what would happen. But yeah, that's my plan, to go intimidate somebody at a ramen place just to not get noodles. Yeah, I had a good time talking to you, man. It's cool.
Awesome, man. Well, would you mind hanging out for a second after we wrap up?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Guys, Failure Sculptures, the deluxe reissue is available now. Go buy it. You can listen to it on Spotify. That's great. But if you can get a physical copy of it, please do. Christopher Mansfield, thank you again so much for being here. And we will see you guys next week.
Thanks.